Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Likon Onobanjo. The top stories at this hour. 9 commuters killed, several others injured in an explosion along Maiduguri-Damboa Road in Borno State. National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, receives PDP decampees in Delta State. Former Super Eagles coach Christian Chukwu dies at the age of 74. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin with security matters. 9 commuters have been killed and several others injured in an explosion along the Maiduguri-Damboa Road in Borno State. The blast was allegedly caused by an improvised explosive device planted by Boko Haram terrorists on the deserted road, which runs through the Sambisa forest. The explosion occurred on Saturday as a military-escorted convoy was transporting passengers from Damboa to Maiduguri. Eyewitnesses reported that multiple vehicles were affected, with injured victims taken to a Maiduguri hospital for urgent treatment. In the meantime, Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Zulum says Nigeria's Minister of Information is naive of the security situation in the state. This was shortly after a sympathy visit to the state specialist hospital in Maiduguri, where victims of recent Damboa attack are receiving medications. The Damboa attack led to the death of 8 people and several others injured. But according to Borno State Governor, this will not demoralize efforts to maintain security and stabilize the region.
To join issues with the Minister of Information, I believe he's naive of what is happening in the country. He doesn't know what is ongoing in the country. Our discussions during the Security Council was not bad. We just raised an alarm that there is a resurgence of Boko Haram activities in Borno State, and there is a need for Borno State government, the military as well as paramilitary, to work together in order to abut the looming situation. I think this is a very good advice. Nothing has been said again. But most importantly, I want to assure you that we have been to Abuja. We met the service chief, especially the CDS, Chief of Army Staff, Naval Staff, as well as air staff. We receive assurances from them that they will do everything possible to control the situation.
Later developments, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has pledged government assistance to victims of the April 2 violent attacks in Bokkos, which he described as senseless killings and genocide. The governor was speaking during his visit to commiserate with the victims, as well as carry out an on-the-spot assessment of the tragic incident. News Central's Chizobanyewe was on the governor's entourage and now completes this report.
This is Hulti, one of the affected communities in Bokkos local government area, where many lives were lost and left unquantified property destroyed. Governor Caleb Mutfwang is here to feel their pain and reassure them of his commitment to making their lives better, especially in the areas of road construction and telecommunications networks, which are said to be the major constraints for swift security response.
No matter how many security men we bring here, they can only help us. We ourselves must rise to the occasion and do the needful. Government will stand with you. We have seen the terrain. We're going to go back and discuss how to improve the road network in this location. We're also going to see how to improve the telecommunication presence in this location and make sure that by the grace of God, we make life better for you and so that you can continue to thrive.
Despite their present predicament, Governor Mutfwang challenged them to be undaunted.
This attack is to keep you in poverty. This attack is to enslave your minds, to become slaves in your own land. I want to urge the youth of this village to rise up to the occasion. The youth of any community are the strength of the community. And it is time for us to put aside our differences. It is time for us to unite and live as one people.
At the gravesite of the victims, prayers were said for the repose of their souls, while the governor promised to immortalize them. Over 2,000 people now take refuge in 4 different internally displaced people's camps in Bokkos.
Most especially the houses that we are born. We want the government to help us and rebuild the houses for us. And this is rainy season, and we want to go back to our farm because this is our source of living in the community.
We need the government to ensure that we are safe. And also our roads are not good. That's the main point where they got to us and they killed so many people.
My house is, they're burned all. I need government to help us.
Now with the visit of the governor here in Houthi, one of the communities affected during the last incidents in Bokkos, with the assurances he has given, one will believe that everything possible will be done to ensure that relative peace once again returns here. From Bokkos local government area of Plateau State for News Central, Chizoba and Nyoi.
Away from security stories to politics now, Delta State on Saturday recorded a major political shift as Chiedu Ebie, board chairman of the Niger Delta Development Commission, led thousands of members of the Delta Unity Group of the PDP in Ika Federal Constituency into the All Progressives Congress as a reception for the Decampis in Agbo. APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje, flanked by Edo State Governor Monday Okpewolo, described the move as very strategic towards taking over power in Delta State.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here in order to receive thousands of defectors from PDP to APC using Delta Unity Group as a vehicle. This is a strong vehicle. We believe this vehicle will lead us to the Delta State Government House come during the next election.
I'm here to welcome my brother Chidu. Chinedu is a wonderful young man, very intelligent. He knows when to move. It is time to move.
I want to tell you that from 2027, Delta State will be fully APC, and APC will take over Delta State. We do not like to say too much. We believe in action, and all you can see here today, Your Excellencies, is action. It's action. The people love APC.
Today is the liberation of the Ika people. Particularly the Agbo people who have been in bondage for over 2 decades.
I'm the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has dismissed the proposed opposition merger ahead of the 2027 elections, calling it a joint venture doomed to fail. Ganduje made the remarks after leading the APC National Working Committee on a Salah visit to former President Muhammadu Buhari in Kaduna. He said the ruling party is unshaken by talks of an alliance involving former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and others. He also emphasized that the APC controls 21 states and described it as the strongest party in West Africa. While Atiku visited Buhari with top political allies, it clarified that it was a post-Salah courtesy call, though talks of building a strong opposition bloc have already stirred public debates. To discuss this, we're joined by a political analyst, Henry Olonimoyo. Thank you so much for joining us, Henry, on the news.
Thank you very much, yes.
Now, the APC national chairman said whatever coalition that might surface is a joint venture doomed to fail. What do you think fuels this confidence?
Yes, thank you. I think the APC leaders of all people know that a merger can be a very serious movement if you consider the fact that in the build-up to 2015 presidential election, it was a merger that brought the APC to life. Merger of the then CPC, ACN, and some part of HAPGA at that time that brought the APC into power. And it's just part of the usual discarding that happens when politicians are met with issues like this. They usually tell it off that the matter will be nothing. But see, I believe very strongly that it's a serious matter within the APC. They know that if a merger happens, it could be a very, very closely run election. If you look at the results of the last presidential election, you discover that the elected president won with just a little above 8 million votes, and his closest runner-ups had 6 million votes each. And that tells us that if there's a kind of merger, there is every likelihood that any outcome can be tipped off in the election. So I do not believe that he is calling the bluff of any merger. I know they are taking it very seriously. If you also consider the recent visits to Kaduna State, the residence of former President Muhammadu Buhari, ABC leaders, governors also met the president some days ago, and a few days later again, Atiku Abubakar led some political leaders to the house of the president. Okay. That tells you that the issue of a merger is a serious issue and should not be discountenanced.
Okay, but then we just witnessed the defection of thousands of members from the PDP to the APC in Delta State, and some top shots and their followers in other states have also decamped to the APC. So isn't that a major boost for the ruling party in future elections?
Yes. These things happen every time as we approach election time. One big week says it's the campaign. Of course, he doesn't come alone and says the campaign. He gets a lot of crowd to come. And all of them are all wearing maybe caps, t-shirts, and they say that the campaign together. But you see, from what we have seen in the past, what really matters is who votes for who at the time of the election. And so this is not, because as you have it from the side of the PDP of the APC, you also see things like that also happening towards the PDP and some other parties also. So I do not take these things very seriously. For me, I think it's largely ceremonial, that when it comes to the time of elections, we know who has the followership.
And you don't think that former presidents, that Muhammadu Buhari, could have any sort of major influence over the general elections in 2027? I mean, we just witnessed some days ago some major opposition figures and even APC representatives visit him.
He could, because it's very clear that he still has this cult followership in the north. And that's why you see now that different factions are coming to meet him. We had some ABC governors coming to meet him, and then you also have Atiku Abubakar and some other leaders coming to meet him. So he could also play a major role. But again, if there's anything we have seen in the last election, there are bound to be surprises, even from the outcomes of elections in various states. You'll also realize also that in the forthcoming election, new set of voters also will just clock the team or are just legally qualified by age to vote in election. New set of voters will be brought in again, and that could change the voting demographic again, slightly from what it was in the last election. So all of these factors will win. But again, I believe very strongly that former President Muhammadu Buhari is still a force to be reckoned with as far as politics in the north is concerned.
Thank you so much, Henry Olanimoyo, for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Let's now go on a very short break. When we return, Attorney General of the Federation yet to be served summons on the suit filed by 11 governors of the PDP challenging suspension of Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. We'll tell you more when we're back. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. The Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and the federal government are yet to be served summons on the suit filed by 11 governors of the People's Democratic Party challenging President Bola Tinubu's suspension of Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. This is according to sources in the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Also being challenged by the PDP governors is the President's declaration of a state of emergency rule in Rivers. The AGF and the federal government are listed as defendants in the suit. In the suit, the Attorneys General of Adamawa, Enugu, Osun, Oyo, Bauchi, Akwa Ibom, Plateau, Delta, Taraba, Zamfara, and Bayelsa states are asking the Supreme Court to determine if the president has powers to suspend a democratically elected structure of a state. And to help us make sense of this, we're joined by a legal practitioner, Henry Ekene. Mr. Ekene, thank you so much for coming around.
Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure to join you this evening.
All right. So what do you see or make of the suit filed by the 11 PDP governors against Fubara's suspension? Futile or a purposeful effort?
Since the proclamation of Mr. President of the state of emergency in Rivers State, I hold a very strong view, and I emphasize, though unjustified, orchestrated, unconstitutional, there have been a number of reactions, and I think one of those reactions is the one by the governors on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. It's a justified reaction. It's one that every citizen has a responsibility to uphold the provisions of our Constitution, ensure respect for the Constitution, especially the governors of the respective states who have also sworn to an oath to so uphold the provisions of the Constitution. So it is justifiable for the governors of those states, those People's Democratic Party states, to approach the Supreme Court to give effect of what we all already generally know, that the action of Mr. President, unfortunately, in this particular instance, was unconstitutional. It stretched beyond his constitutional power. And then, of course, even the outcomes of the actions of the sole administrator of Rivers State are clear confirmation that the actions of Mr. President are unconstitutional, because the purported sole administrator, whose position is not known to law, is not known in our Constitution, the powers is arrogating himself, and the actions is taken out in Rivers State. I think they are quite disturbing that across the country, those who are adherents to the Constitution are already condemning those actions. So I think that the Supreme Court should rather even expedite the hearing of those actions that have come before the Supreme Court by the governors of the respective states, or the attorneys general of these states, really.
Okay, so
I imagine that because of the importance of the matter, that the Supreme Court should quickly and expeditiously set this matter down for hearing and determine one way or the other as spontaneously as they can.
All right, so of course, they are also, that's the governors are also challenging the president's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. But then, are you truly convinced that anything can be done about this rule in terms of a change via a judicial process?
Yes, I even expect that the president himself by this time should have retracted his declaration, and he has the power to so do. And even the National Assembly should have also withdrawn their confirmation of that declaration. They have the power to so do. But since these institutions have failed, and of course, I'm not surprised. I know all of the manipulations from the back end, the roundabout ways to take power, to capture power from Rivers State. Maybe the last resource that is left for those who are dissatisfied will be the judicial resort. But again, to how much of confidence do we have left in the judiciary, even if I'm a lawyer? Because all of these are questions that I think that the Supreme Court, like I said earlier, should have just immediately activated. I understand that the Office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation has just reported that the process have not been served on them. I imagine that the governors of those states will make every quick effort to serve him.
Okay,
to serve the Honorable Attorney of the offices that we serve.
All right, so
I'm sorry.
Henry, this is very germane to a lot of Nigerians. Now, we see that the sole administrator sacked the 23 local government caretakers and the head of RCEC, and he appointed new administrators, and is also preparing an appropriation bill. Are these constitutional?
They are absolutely not constitutional. I've had reactions on these issues on other platforms. Let me take out first the research that the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission that has been infiltrated. I mean, truly, and I'm deliberate about, infiltrated by the unknown, unlawful sole administrator. It is clear, really, if you open from the first section of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria up to the end of the section of the Constitution, there is no reference whatsoever of the office of a sole administrator, or even the function of a sole administrator for a state. So to that extent, I maintain that is unconstitutional. So, including the action of the sole administrator purportedly to infiltrate the establishment of the River State Independent Electoral Commission, which is a creation of the Constitution itself, and then, of course, a creation further of the River State Independent Electoral Commission law of River State. So the sole administrator didn't have and does not have and will never in any way legitimately have any power to also infiltrate that commission, disengage the lawfully appointed and constituted commission. And then right now, you could see clearly, Nigerians who are watching could see what indeed the motive of this declaration of state of emergency really is. It's not about coming to ensure any peace and security in Rivers as if there was any breakdown of law and order. There wasn't in any way. So you could see because it's jobless. The sole administrator is jobless. It doesn't have anything to do precisely on the mandate that it was given. It's beginning to do things that he wasn't even asked to do. Getting into a commission that was established, that even the governor of the state who was elected didn't have the express power to remove the chairman of the River State Independent Electoral Commission himself, just expressly like that by a proclamation. No, he didn't have, because that was a constitutional body and also a statutory body, and those appointees are tenured appointees. But a sole administrator just comes and like a decree, and they have done so. Now the motive is so that they can manipulate the electoral process to the local government councils in River State. That's another way to hijack and capture the local governments in River State. For whosoever interest, I think the sole administrator knows. Then again, the River State Internal Revenue Service is another agency that has been infiltrated. And that's clear also about the financial intention, the definite objective to get into the finances of River State. Otherwise, did he come here to generate revenue for River State or to control the source of revenues in River State? Absolutely not. Not even the purported declaration of Mr. President that is unlawful and unconstitutional vested him that power. And again, right now we have heard appointments are being made. You're setting up structures. I was surprised, I'm sorry, by the time I was surprised that the sole administrator was justifying that, he went around the state. It's not true. He has not gone to my local government. How did he know the person he has purportedly appointed the sole administrator?
Okay,
How many weeks has he been in?
Harry, permit me to, because we need to end this now, but permit me to just quickly ask you this. How would you have expected him to administer over River State without having to put these structures in place for 6 months?
He said we got it. Yes, he did. We got it wrong from the outset. Mr. President got it wrong, and that's why we have advocated that the powers vested in Mr. President, pursuant to Section 305, particularly subsection 3, never envisaged a situation where this institution that existed would have been infiltrated and, of course, dismantled. Okay. So what the sole administrator would have done, though not justified in any way, even in that aberration, is to come and see whether there was actually truly breakdown of law and order. And where there was none, like he did affirm that there was none, he said River State was peaceful, he would have just simply reported to Mr. President that in case you are misled or misinformed, I've gone here and there's no job for me to do. The people are peaceful, they're going about their businesses, my children are going to school, I am going to work. Even the federal institutions and agencies of government in River State are functional. Federal Secretariat is functional, everybody goes to work and comes back. Okay. So that's the first thing he was to do. Apparently from the outset, we never needed to get to this point of having a sole administrator. Mr. President would have allowed these institutions to stay and deploy security agents, hardware and software, and then even fund security to help the governor of River State if there was even any breakdown of law and order. So the issue about the sole administrator was completely a no-no from the outset.
Okay. Henry Kinney, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the news. Let's move on now. The Labour Party has distanced itself from an alleged attempt to hijack the party structure by some aggrieved members of the party. The National Publicity Secretary, Abayomi Arabambi, made this known to newsmen in Abuja, saying that the party will not be used as a platform for anti-democratic activities ahead of the 2027 general elections. Arabambi expressed concerns over what he described as threats to national peace and stability, calling on party faithful to remain focused on rebuilding the party and preparing for the 2027 polls.
We unreservedly affirm our belief in one indivisible Nigeria, and all of them, including Governor Zale Soti, Mr. Peter Obi, Senator Dati, Baba Ahmed, Senator Ume, Darlington Wokocha, Honorable Ogene, Senator Nenadi Usman, must be reminded that our party will not be used as a tool for rebellion against democracy and constitutional administration. It is totally undemocratic to assume their position. You claim to have a Supreme Court judgment that favored you, and yet you are still considering the same Supreme Court that affirmed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu election as illegitimate. This is treasonous. Must we be complaining about 2023 president election now when another election is coming in 2027? Or we should be focused on how we are going to have the presidency in 2027. To us, the OT group are engaging in distractions. With that type of statement, both should be placed under security surveillance.
Away from that, Lagos came alive on Saturday as the Radio Foundation led a powerful walk with a bold message: full access, no cap. The annual walk, now a major highlight in the disability advocacy calendar, brought together many participants, young and old, including people living with disabilities, all united by a common goal, and that is to create a more inclusive society where everyone enjoys full access to opportunities, services, and spaces. News Central's Bettina Emily was there and now files in this report.
Everyone for coming out today. We're very grateful for all the support we've received today.
The early morning walk saw the streets echoed with chants, songs, and powerful stories of resilience. The message was clear: accessibility is a right, not a privilege. The theme, Full Access, No Cap, challenges social and physical barriers that limit persons with disabilities and pushes for systemic change in infrastructure, education, employment, and health care.
We're leaving a mark in the lives of the beneficiaries. Some of them would never believe that they have the ability to walk, but through advocacies like this and ability to raise funds, we're giving them hope, which again ultimately the agenda of Mr. President, renewed hope. So this is also a sense of renewed hope. So everything is intertwined, and full access, no cap. Just gives us that opportunity and ability, to continue to push beyond boundaries. We also are very, very much aware that there's ability in disability. So if we all come out en masse, like we have done with critical stakeholders like yourselves as well, to ensure that we continue to do this advocacy, then we'll be able to reach out to more individuals who will be able to donate and support, this cause amongst many others.
Discrimination against persons with disability, especially with children, must end. The reality from our experience is the fact that many people, what they are unfamiliar with, they would run away from and create a narrative about. So once you start to expose yourself to the realities that there are children with disability as an adult, it gives you a better perspective. And then imagine that you are a parent yourself. You go back home and you educate your children or your wards, your nieces and nephews that, if you see a different child either with one hand or one leg, or a child with albinism, or a child who is a dwarf, don't laugh at them. Understand that there are different categories. If you go to your class and you see a child with autism, cerebral palsy, or Down syndrome, remember that these children exist and you must not discriminate. So the subject matter of discrimination against children with disabilities is one that would always be ongoing because it is a discourse that evolves over time.
The Irede Foundation, known for its impactful work in providing prosthetic limbs to child amputees, continues to champion inclusion and empowerment through advocacy like this walk.
Do not limit, the ability of these children. Two, do not put roadblocks. We have employers here, and there is this tendency to take a look at someone and imagine that, they have a disability, and for that reason they will not be able to function in certain roles. And we just had the other day Guinness Book of Records, the young man who has the largest painting, and it's those kinds of things that we talk about. There should be no restriction to access.
As the event wrapped up, the energy remained high with calls for everyone, individuals, institutions, and the government to walk the talk on inclusivity. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Coming up on the news, polls close in Gabon's presidential election, with junta chief Brice Nguema widely expected to win. We will tell you more when we return. Don't go away. Stay with us. We take it to Central Africa now, where polls have closed in Gabon's presidential election, with junta chief Brice Nguema widely expected to become the country's first elected leader since his 2023 coup. Gabonese voters cast their ballot on Saturday in a highly anticipated vote featuring 8 candidates. Oligui, who led the August 30, 2023 coup that ended the Bongo family's 55-year rule, has been leading in opinion polls. He casts his vote in Libreville alongside First Lady Zita, expressing confidence in the outcome. The election took place amid high unemployment rate, crumbling infrastructure, and heavy national debt. Despite previous reform efforts, basic amenities remain scarce. Let's also tell you in Southern Africa that Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa has signed the controversial Private Voluntary Organisations Amendment Bill into law, sparking anger amongst activists. The law imposes severe restrictions on NGOs, including banning them from engaging in politics and allowing the states to control their internal management and funding. Blessing Vava, director of the Crisis in Zimbabwe Coalition, criticized the move, saying the government is now targeting civil society after dismantling opposition politics.
There is no organization that I know of, whether it is an NGO, that has been involved in terrorism, that has been involved in money laundering. But of course, we know that this is a ploy by the Mnangagwa regime, to impose a one-party state, governance system in the country. Essentially, they destroyed opposition politics. So now they are moving to civic society because they know that the role that civil society has been playing in being the watchdog, but also, providing Zimbabweans with alternative information, be it in form of civic education, of the role that a majority of the civic society organizations were embarking on in terms of voter education and issues like that.
I think the legal remedy for the human rights organizations and charity organizations that are affected is to take this bill to be tested in our courts and to see if it can pass the constitutional provisions that are already there in our laws.
From other continents, we tell you that UK lawmakers have held an emergency parliamentary session to debate a draft bill aimed at saving the Chinese-owned British steel plant in Scunthorpe from imminent closure. Business and Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds said that transferring ownership of the plants to the state remains on the table and may now be the likely option, citing the company's conduct. However, Reynolds has stressed that the government still hopes for a co-investment deal with a private partner. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has pledged to take control of the last UK facility that produces steel from scratch, warning of economic and national security risks if it shuts down.
I want to be clear that a transfer of ownership to the state remains on the table. and it may well, at this stage, given the behaviour of the company, be the likely option. But also, our aspirations for British Steel remain a co-investment agreement with a private sector partner to secure that long-term transformation. The action I seek to take today is not a magic wand or a panacea. The state cannot fund the long-term transformation of British Steel itself, nor would it want to do so. But a failure to act today would prevent any more desirable outcome from even being considered. And that is again why we must act today.
We also tell you that Beijing is preparing for a strong unseasonal spring winds by removing tree branches, taping windows and shutting down public spaces. Authorities have cancelled flights and train services and closed several parks and attractions as precautionary measures. The China Meteorological Administration reports that the winds stemmed from a cold vortex system that has formed over Mongolia. The system has moved east and south, sweeping through northern China from Friday through the weekend, prompting safety alerts across the capital. Residents have been therefore advised to stay indoors and avoid outdoor activities as officials continue to monitor weather developments. Nigerian oil company Orlando PLC has reported 3 sabotage attacks on its pipelines in Bayelsa State within the past week. The incidents targeted the 18-inch Tepidaba Brass crude oil pipeline in Brass local government area and the 24-inch Ogbenbiri Obiobi gas pipeline in the southern Ijaw district. The company, which recently acquired Nigerian Ajib Oil Company from ENI, disclosed the attacks late on Friday. Orlando said it is working closely with relevant authorities to conduct a joint investigation to determine the extent of the damage and uncover the cause of the sabotage. No casualties have been reported. Away from that, Fitch Ratings has upgraded Nigeria's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating from B- to B, citing increased confidence in the government's ongoing policy reforms. The stable outlook reflects progress made since June 2023, including exchange rate liberalization, tighter monetary policy, and the phasing out of fuel subsidies and deficit monetization. Fitch expects these measures to improve the foreign exchange market and gradually reduce inflation, though it remains high compared to its peers. The agency also anticipates that continued reforms in the energy sector and improved foreign currency supply will ease external vulnerabilities and support current account surpluses. Nigeria's federal government has established a subcommittee to evaluate the economic impact of new trade tariffs recently announced by the United States. This is according to a statement issued on Friday by Mohammed Manga, Director of Information and Public Relations at the Ministry of Finance. The decision followed a meeting of the Economic Management Team chaired by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun. The team reviewed potential fiscal and economic implications of the U.S. measures with participation from key ministries and agencies. The subcommittee will assess both direct and indirect effects of the tariffs on Nigeria's economy and recommend appropriate responses. In sports, Nigeria is mourning the loss of a football legend, Christian Chukwu, former captain and coach of the Super Eagles, who has passed away at the age of 74. Widely respected for his leadership on and off the pitch, Chukwu's impact on Nigerian football spanned decades. Our correspondent, Onyinyechi Obaro, recounts his life and times as Nigeria's football icon.
My name is Mr. Christian Chukwu, former Rangers player.
Nigeria today lost one of its greatest sport legends, Christian Chukwuemeka Chukwu, former captain and head coach of the Super Eagles, passed away in the early hours of Saturday, April 12, 2025, in his hometown of Enugu State. He was 74. The news was confirmed by his longtime friend and teammate, Dr. Olusegun Odegbami, who won the 1980 African Cup of Nations alongside him. Nicknamed chairman for his commanding presence and leadership at the back, Christian Chukwu was the pillar of Nigerian national team, the Green Eagles, for many years. Born on January 4, 1951, he started his journey from Christ Church Primary School in Wani to National Secondary School and then East Central State Academicals. He played for National Grammar School and Highlanders FC before joining Enugu Rangers. As captain of both club and country, he led Nigeria to its first ever African Cup of Nations victory in 1980, hoisting the trophy at the National Stadium in Surulere. He also led Enugu Rangers to a continental victory in 1977, winning the Africa Cup Winners' Cup. As a coach, he guided Super Eagles between 2002 and 2005, earning bronze medal at the 2004 AFCON in Tunisia. He served as assistant coach to Nigeria's Golden Eaglets team that clinched the country's first FIFA World Cup title at the Under-16 World Cup in China 1985. In 2023, he was immortalized in a biography titled The Field Marshal, Chairman Christian Chukwu. He suffered health challenges in his later years, with billionaire businessman Femi Otedola also coming to his aid. Christian Chukwu is survived by his wife and 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters. His legacy lives on every green jersey worn with pride, in every Nigerian goal celebrated in unity, and in every heart that remembers the chairman of Nigerian football. May his soul rest in peace.
And that's all on the news at this hour. But then let's look at our major stories before we go. 9 commuters have been killed, several others injured in an explosion along Maiduguri-Damboa Road in Borno State. National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has received the campees of the People's Democratic Party in Delta State. We also told you that former Super Eagles coach Christian Chukwu has died at the age of 74. Don't forget to send your advocates report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Don't forget to watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, and Avo TV, including YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.